Here's Dr. Fauci lying about masks, and I want to get your reaction. He was asked about this at the beginning of the pandemic, if people should wear masks, and this is what he said.
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course. But when you...
So the reason, so that he said he lied then. Now, a lot of people say he was telling the truth then, but he then later said, oh no, I was lying. And here's why he said he was lying.
With this, okay, at the time, three things were going on. We were told very clearly at the coronavirus task force, including by the Surgeon General, who's a good person all the way.
I don't know what the hell that has to do with anything, why he just throws that in there. Who's a good person all the way? Is this a morality class? I don't know. What, so that's very suspect to me. That's what a liar does. Okay.
I never heard this. It's amazing.
That's what a pathological liar does. The Surgeon General is a good person all the way. I've never heard people talk like that in public life like that. Here we go.
With this, okay, at the time, three things were going on. We were told very clearly at the coronavirus task force, including by the Surgeon General, who's a good person all the way, that there was a clear shortage of masks. And if we went around recommending masks, the healthcare providers who were putting themselves in harm's way every single day would not have enough.
So he just admitted he lied to the American people about a public health issue. So now people probably didn't wear masks, and they went out and they got coronavirus and they died because he lied. Now, a lot of people say he wasn't lying because now the studies have come out about masks. And well, what have you found out? What do you say to Dr. Fauci about him lying? And was he lying the first time, or what? And how could you ever have a person in charge of public health who is an admitted liar about the biggest thing ever in public health in our lifetime, and then he's not fired immediately?
Yeah, I think was a dreadful statement that he made at the beginning. And if the reason was that masks need to be used by health officials, they should have taken steps for that. This is not the way to respond to a pandemic, by making things up that you then reverse weeks later and then question, why is there no trust when people aren't listening, or when we go into culture wars over these issues? Absolutely inappropriate, but really especially inappropriate, by the way, because by then, and they knew as of February 1, 2020, and well before, that there was this furin cleavage site, that probably made it highly transmissible, and that this was going to be a bad one. And that is the message that should have been made clear to the American people, with appropriate measures by government, not making it up in this way.
I can't believe he wasn't fired. Why do you think he wasn't fired for lying like that?
Well, he's been there a long time, and he oversees the biodefense research, and nobody wanted to touch it. So I think what we will now, and because I don't think people really understood the situation that we find ourselves in right now, when we know that there was not even the minimal transparency that we needed as a country at the time of this outbreak and afterwards. And it is unsatisfactory, and that's why there's going to be an investigation now. People think those investigations are partisan. You're coming at it from an academic point of view, that it's necessary, not on a partisan basis, correct? First of all, I'm just to say I vote Democrat, although I'm so unhappy right now about this having been turned into a partisan issue. I'm trying to explain to every friend, if I have any, in the Democratic Party left. There's nothing partisan about this investigation. Zero. This is not a vendetta. This is to try to find out facts when we know that we have been kept from basic information. So this is not partisan in the least.
Okay.
It shouldn't be, doesn't have to be, should be run professionally. And I'm hoping and I'm counting and I'm going to work on it that the Democrats, who will be in the minority of these investigating bodies now, join in properly and fully to find out the truth.
Another big problem that happened was, and what we caught a lot of flack from at this show, was because we were against the vaccine mandates, because I got vaccine injured in April of 2021, and I immediately looked into the vaccine, and everything I looked into, I found out they were lying. They were lying about masks. They were lying about herd immunity. They were lying about natural immunity. They were lying about transmission contraction. They were lying about everything. And so here is the head of Pfizer, and he tweeted out, excited to share that updated analysis from our phase 3 study with BioNTech also showed that our COVID-19 vaccine was 100% effective in preventing cases. Now that's a lie. Here's Pfizer tweeting out, the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 has not been approved or licensed by the US FDA, but has been authorized for emergency use to prevent COVID-19. Now that's also a lie, because we know that. So here's a executive from Pfizer testifying in the European Parliament, and here she was asked if they even tested the virus to see if it stopped transmission, and here's what she said.
Regarding the question around, did we know about stopping immunization before it's entered the market? No, we had to really move at the speed of science.
So she just made up a term. There's no such thing as the speed of science. That's just made up in a PR room somewhere by a big pharma public relations person. And so she's admitting that they never even tested it. So how in the hell are they getting away with pushing mandates on everybody? So, and now so you've seen what happened. They flipped the narrative, just like Tony Fauci did with masks. He completely flipped it 180 degrees. And now they're flipping this narrative, because now the new establishment narrative talking point out of the White House and big pharma and corporate media is that they never said it stopped transmission. Now, of course, I just showed you 2 tweets, one from the head of Pfizer, one from Pfizer itself. And I can show you this.
Everyone who takes the vaccine is not just protecting themselves, but reducing their transmission to other people and allowing society to get back to normal.
We can kind of almost see the end. We're vaccinating so very fast. Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick.
Getting vaccinated and getting a booster shot when eligible can save your life and protect you and your family and friends from getting seriously ill and spreading infection.
What do you think the probability is? 80%? Personally, I think it's 100%. I think that there's a reduction in transmission.
Right. Essentially, vaccines block you from getting and giving the virus.
If enough people get vaccinated, it actually halts transmission.
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
We have all the vaccines we need. We just need our people to take it. A, for their own protection, for the protection of their family, but also to break the chain of transmission. You want to be a dead end to the virus. So when the virus gets to you, you stop it. You don't allow it to use you as the stepping stone to the next person.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
No, those are all 100% lies. And we know those are lies because it wasn't based on any data, because the data actually showed the opposite, and that they didn't even test for it. They didn't even check to see if it did. We now know that. So where did all that come from? And how come all those people aren't in jail for lying, or even at least get their Twitter handle taken down for medical misinformation?
Yeah. Let me say, by the way, I'm vaccinated, and I believe in the vaccines, but I know other people don't. Just want to be very clear about that. But
when you say you believe in them, what do you believe?
I believe that it will make me less sick or save my life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, it was known from the beginning that it would not stop infection, by the way, because the way that the virus works, you would get an upper respiratory infection rather than a lung infection as a very basic point, that it wouldn't stop the infection itself. But the idea was that you wouldn't progress to serious illness or to mortality as a result of an infection. I think that that's right. But the idea that it stops transmission, which those are amazing, amazing clips. I've never seen them compiled that way. I don't think anyone that I know believed that it stopped infection. Because the logic of it was that you could get an upper respiratory infection. It didn't stop the nasal infections and upper respiratory, but the lower respiratory, the lung, the pneumonia is where serious disease comes. So that was the idea from the start, not that you wouldn't get infected. And whether it's people that are speaking out of ignorance, glibly, or lying, it's a very good question. And it should definitely be part of what's looked into.
So the basis
and it's all part of it, Jimmy. It's all part of the breakdown of basic trust, because we did not hear accurate information from the people that we depend on. Now we know that there was a battle between CDC and NIH, and there shouldn't have been. We should have been hearing a straight story of the best that they could come up with at each moment of the most, in other words, best in terms of most accurate knowledge of a changing situation, evolving situation, and we did not. And that's dreadful. And that definitely cost lives through all the confusion and, of course, the breakdown of any kind of sensible national consensus on any of it.
And so, but the idea that the vaccine stopped transmission was the basis for mandates, and that if you didn't take a vaccine, you were being selfish, and that it was like not obeying traffic laws. That they made, that you've heard those, that all that. Yeah. It's like that. Oh, if you don't take a vaccine, it's like we have to protect our streets. That we paid for. Yeah, so
what I'd want to say is that in an epidemiological logic, if it reduces the probability of transmission, it could have that effect. So I don't want to say, until this is looked into properly and objectively, exactly what claims were being made. But I can tell you what you played in clips were inaccurate, every one of them. Every one of them was not accurate in how they stated the fact that this would break the transmission of the virus. We know, look, we've got vaccination rates, and people are, I was vaccinated and I got COVID, and almost everyone we know with vaccinations had at least one bout of it. Thank God, mild, and who knows, but the idea that it would stop the infection, that was not a justifiable claim.
And that's why they had to change the definition of what a vaccine is, because it used to go that the vaccine produced immunity to a virus going forward, and now they switched it to it produces an immune response, which is totally different, and which is why people are confused about these vaccines and why people were for mandates, because they thought they were like the polio vaccine. If you get the polio vaccine, you don't get polio. Could you imagine, because we all got the COVID vaccine, we all got COVID. Imagine if we all got the polio vaccine and in the same year we all got polio. I think we would be questioning that polio vaccine.
I think we have not had at any moment in this the kind of clarity, honesty, transparency, and explanation that as grown-ups in America we merit and we need.
Why are we listening to this guy who's a college dropout, who doesn't have any degrees in anything? Why are we listening to him on such an important issue of medical science and vaccines? Why does Bill Gates, the number one guy that the media goes to ask about this, doesn't even have a college degree?
Look, I think your point is absolutely right, that we should have had authoritative, open, transparent communication, and we did not. And we have suffered as a society for it, and we still continue to suffer because we're so divided and the level of trust is so low, and you can't actually have a normal society with such low trust. And we don't have a normal society right now. And they did not earn the trust. These were not trustworthy people because they didn't tell us what they knew.
I know we have to let you go. I really appreciate you making time for us today. Thanks for all your hard work, and thank you for telling the truth, even though it lost you friends already. And
yeah, a few here and there.
And we'll lost me a ton of them, and especially in Hollywood. I've lost a ton of friends. People call me names all day long, just for telling the truth on stuff that you've uncovered. So thank you again, Jeffrey Sachs, for coming on. I hope you'll come back sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great to be with you.
Okay.
Really appreciate it.
Vaccines are super safe and effective. They slow the transmission and contraction of the virus, and they'll keep you from getting seriously ill or dead. Hey, we're doing live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, December 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. And we're going to be in Tempe, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Nashville. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets. See you there.